It is 6 p.m. This is the Transportation and Traffic Safety Advisory Committee. We have our agenda before us, and Mr. Akers isn't here yet. I understand he will be here, but since it's 6 o'clock, and I believe we have a quorum, I'd like to start off with a roll call. Mr. Garcia, would you please conduct a roll call?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alejandro Campero.
Absent for the record.
Okay. Adrian Dominguez.
Present.
Carlos Garcia, present. Mr. Macuri Martinez III.
Here.
Yo Barron.
Yep.
Jose Luis Benavides.
Absent for the record.
Um, David Akers.
Absent for the record.
Felix Canales.
Present.
Rafael Tawi.
Absent for the record. Mr. Garcia, do we have a quorum?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe we have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, do you know if anybody has signed up for public
For
comments?
public comments, at the moment, sir, there's no indication of anyone requesting.
Okay, anybody signed up with staff for public comments? Hearing none, we will move on. For approval of the minutes for February 7, 2018, that meeting was canceled, well, the meeting for March was canceled, so did you all go over the February minutes? Want a little bit of time to go over them?
I had one question, but since I wasn't here for that meeting,
Go ahead and ask your question.
I was reviewing, the, item number 7, discussion I guess it's question number 1 of section number 7. I was just asking that, they were going to designate the street Albany Drive between Rancho Viejo and Quail Creek, in front of Kazan, right? To be a one-way during those peak hours, but I was just indicating, I was under the impression that Albany ran east-west, not north-south, but I don't know. I just wanted a clarification on that. Because it's 35 considered north, and Mines Road is this way, and it runs parallel to Mines Road.
Was that on the last time? It's parallel to Mines Road, so like northwest, it goes like,
Yeah, it has that, well, I just.
and that's
it was
why, that's why I probably.
It would just be an anal of me, I was
Right.
just.
Yeah, no, it's the valid question, but that was the reason for it, that we had seen that as a north-south. But it does run what would be, east or south to us with the consideration for Albany.
I believe we did, Mr. Chairman, we did include the action between what streets, I believe.
Yeah.
So normally we do that just to clarify.
Right.
Just in
Which
case.
is, yeah, which is,
Right.
yeah, right, it was an added,
Clarification.
clarification, yeah. Other than that, I see nothing else.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented? There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second, all those in favor say aye. All those against, same sign. Motion passes. Staff reports. USD response to inside school parking for students.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask your indulgence, if you would consider bringing up item number 4. We do have some visitors here to speak on the reopening of bridge number 1. If the chairman would entertain that, to bring that up first,
I sure
that would be
will
appreciated.
entertain that. I hear a motion to move up item number 4.
I make the motion to move item number 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, all those in favor say aye. All those
Aye.
against, same sign. Motion carries. Reopening of Bridge 1.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we understand from our partners at CBP, GSA, that they will be reopening bridge number 1, and we'd like the committee to be aware of the date of that and how it will end up happening, and what it would look like ultimately, so if we can have that update. We have with us some added staff members as well. Mari Maldonado, who's the Executive Director of Transportation, who oversees the Bridge Department Airport. We have Yvette Limon, who's our Bridge Director as well, and our partners here with CBP. But if you'll allow and indulge us, if they can go ahead and provide the committee an update to know exactly the open date and what enhancements were made or are being made.
Of course.
Thank you.
Right now, the plans are to open pedestrian processing as of the 26th of this month, April 26th, and vehicular processing should be opening on the 29th of this month as well. As far as some of the enhancements, we are gonna still have 4 vehicular lanes, and we're gonna have an additional bicycle lane now as well. That'll have its own booth, but the lanes will be, the bicycles, I'm sorry, will be traversing through the eastmost lane on our facility, and we'll be exiting up Convent as well as the vehicles. The biggest addition or the biggest changes that is being made is we will now be able to, we'll have the capacity of 14 pedestrian lanes in our pedestrian walkway. Excuse me?
14.
14
lanes.
We'll be able to open up to 14 pedestrian lanes
For processing.
for processing, yes.
Right now you have one
Well, no, right now we have 8 pedestrian lanes, booths, I should say.
booth.
Booths, yes.
Once you get to the inspection.
Correct.
Location.
We're gonna have up, the capacity of up to 14 booths for inspection for pedestrian processing. Now, the booths are all located inside of the facility, where previously we had 3 booths inside and 5 outside, prior to the construction. During the construction, we have up to 8 booths, but they're all on the bridge proper itself.
Will they all be occupied, or will they be like HEB where they have 17 booths and they have 2?
We staff to workload, so it'll depend on the workload. Obviously, during the early hours of the day, between 6 and 10, which is when we have the majority of our traffic, we'll open as many lanes as possible. Obviously, if the traffic is not there, we're not gonna waste personnel on empty lanes, or empty booths. But we do staff to workload, and we plan to serve the public as well as we possibly can. The pedestrians will now, where before, they would exit on the same side as the vehicles, just stay on the pathway. They'll now be exiting through the east side of the building. So they'll go into the building where the booths are located, and then they will exit the east side and will be walking through the alleyway that is in between our facility and La Posada. And that's how they'll be exiting into the downtown area.
Do you know how many pedestrians will be accommodated inside the processing area, the lobby area, you can call it?
I would
You know?
say, I mean, an approximation.
It's a walkthrough, so
Yeah.
they'll be processed, they'll show their documentation, once they're clear, they'll be exiting, so it all depends on the flow of
Okay, cause I was under the impression that it was gonna be a big area and the line was gonna kinda zigzag
It is a big
to
area.
accommodate more in the building rather than leave them
Have 'em
outside
outside.
in the elements, that's.
It is a big area, it's bigger than it was before. We are gonna try and be moving them out as fast as possible. Our plan is now that all the lanes are inside of the facility, as well as that we have the more lanes available. We plan to make special lanes, dedicated lanes, one for Sentry, possibly for US citizens as well. And we'll be able to designate the lanes much better than we did before because of the footprint that we were working with prior to the new construction.
Okay, thank you.
Any other?
Just a point of clarification, because you mentioned the bicycle lane
Yes,
you said you have a bicycle lane, but are we talking about once you exit the actual bridge span? Because the actual bridge structure is only wide enough to handle 4 vehicular lanes.
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
It'll be, the bicycles
Just
will
to-
be on the bridge proper along with the vehicles like they were previously. That hasn't changed since no structural changes were made to the bridge itself. Since the only changes were made in our facility, it's in our facility that before, the bicycles, if you remember, would mingle through the vehicle lanes, and we'd call up the bicycle riders as they came up to the booth. Now they're gonna have their own dedicated lane that they'll be able to use. I actually have a diagram if you'd like to
They'll
see it.
go on the bridge span and then veer to the right.
Veer to the right.
And then take the bicycle lane, and the cars will stay in the four
Exactly.
processing lanes.
And the bicycle lane will be right next to the pedestrian, where the pedestrian booths used to be.
Right, perfect.
Are they required to walk the bicycle across, or they can ride it across?
You can ride it, you're just gonna have to stop at the point of inspection, of course,
Mhm.
unless you can stay on it pretty well, but yeah, which a lot of people do. But no, you can ride your bike all the way up until the inspection booth. Obviously, we're gonna conduct the inspection
And you're talking about a bicycle, not like a motorcycle?
No, it's bicycles, not non-motor
So,
vehicles.
And just to inform the committee here, one of the discussions that we also had with Customs and Border Protection, the number of lanes, that we currently have, 2 northbound, 2 southbound. Since there's more, traffic being, well, the amount of cars is basically the same southbound and northbound. They're being processed a little bit quicker going southbound, so there's a need by Customs to have more lanes on the actual bridge structure. So what we have come into agreement is that we will basically be giving up, depending on demand and the season, and traffic, we're gonna have 3 lanes going northbound and 1 lane southbound. As traffic increases southbound, then we will be coordinating with Customs to get the additional lane to have 2 lanes going southbound and 2 northbound. That will be monitored and will be controlled between the city and Customs and Border Protection.
What about the Mexican side?
I'm sorry?
The Mexican side, how are you going to
Well,
coordinate?
we're gonna have to coordinate that also with them also.
We're actually.
We normally do, and tomorrow, Mr. Canales, tomorrow we have a meeting with all the stakeholders, Laredo, US, Customs and Border Protection, and we're gonna clarify all that. Yes, sir.
Quite frankly, we have excellent communication with our Mexican counterparts, and they've been in the same discussion that we were in, where it's already been brought up, and it was actually unison between the 2 governments, and something that we're trying to work out together.
Any other questions?
Just if I can ask as well, that the construction timelines, and then, now that you're here, might as well ask, when the total construction timeline is for, bridge number 2.
If you can, in addition also, Mr. Eads, if they can clarify also, about the Century and the ready lanes also, so that the committee can know what type of traffic is being.
The plans that were.
And then the issues that you have at Bridge 2 and why we're transferring that traffic over.
Of course, I can definitely do that, sir. Right now, the timeframes, for Bridge 1, as I said, the 26th and the 29th.
Right.
For Bridge 2, we're probably looking right now at total completion of the project, probably May, June of 2019. That's what we're looking at right now. However, because of the need in the construction moving over from the west side of the facility, which is almost completely done, over to the east side of the facility, because the east side canopy will now have to be taken down. And what we're gonna end up having to do is right now, when you travel on Bridge 2, after you clear our processing, you continue on the east side of the facility. Since now the east side is gonna be under construction, vehicles are gonna have to be diverted to the west side of the facility on the left side. One of the issues that we're facing is that our Sentry lanes are located on the east side of the facility. As it is right now, they have a straight shot after being processed, a straight shot into our exit points. So it's very simple for them. Now, our Sentry participants or Trusted Traveler programs are our paying participants that are paying for a service which we should be providing to them. By moving the traffic over to the west side, The eastmost lanes, which is our trusted traveler Sentry, is now gonna be the last vehicle turning in on the queue. Because of the trusted traveler program, those are the lanes which we also tend to process the quickest. We process them much faster than we do the other vehicles, since there are trusted travelers that are in the program already. What we foresee is that we're gonna end up with a bottleneck on the west side that'll probably back up all the way to the Sentry lanes and eventually end up backing up that Sentry traffic because of the bottleneck that's formed from going from 14 lanes into 2 lanes exiting the facility. Therefore, one of the things that we've been discussing, and that's actually what tomorrow's meeting is about, to try and make everything concrete, is to move our Sentry processing over to bridge number 1, to Gateway to the Americas. Once we start processing vehicular traffic on the 29th. By doing this, we're not gonna make bridge 1 completely Sentry, we're gonna make it Sentry / Ready Lane. If you're not fully aware of what the Ready Lane program is, Ready Lane is basically every document that has been issued post 2011 has RFID technology, which makes it a lot easier for our systems to capture in an efficient, fast manner versus having to type in information, swipe a document, that kind of thing. So as currently Bridge 2, as you come in, the lanes on the left are our ready lanes, and obviously sometimes people that don't have that kind of document still use them. Not a problem, but those lanes still move a little quicker than the lanes in the middle, and then of course you've got Sentry moving the fastest. By moving Sentry over to Bridge 1, we'd have the capability or the capacity of 4 lanes. We would be using, just like at Bridge 2 right now, between 1 and 3 Sentry lanes, depending on traffic flow and on the need for utilization of the lanes. And the other lane, or if we only open 2, would be ready lanes, in order to mobilize the traffic quite faster. We're hoping that this alleviates the problem of the bottlenecks at Bridge 2 with our Sentry participants, and that we're able to move the traffic in a more efficient manner. Did I do something else?
Mr. Canal?
And I think Felix knows more and more of the dynamics of it as far as coming in from
The only
from
thing I
Laredo, so.
Well, in Nuevo Laredo, it should be maybe a little bit easier because you're gonna have two ways to come into Bridge 1.
Yeah, 2 ways.
And one of them is a little bit dangerous, but, or actually 3. You can take Matamoros, you can take the boulevard coming from Avenida Mexico, and you can take Ocampo. The only problem I see is that if the 2 type of traffics go into Bridge 1, cars are gonna get in the middle and
Well,
Oh,
and if I can answer that, Mr. Canales, it's, remember, when you're coming in on the Sentry lane, we have the option of opening up to 3 lanes or 4 lanes if we have to. It'll be the same concept once we go into bridge number 1. Capufe has indicated that they'll do some kind of lineage or some kind of barricade, indicating that 1 lane would be the ready lane, and then the other 2 lanes. And if we go with what we had discussed with the city prior, then you'll have 3 lanes coming in northbound from Laredo. So, and then again, once you get to a certain point, they'll open it or fan out into the 3 or 4 lanes if we have to.
well, the problem I see is Capufe is gonna have to assign a booth, and they only have 2 on the Mexican side. So one of them is gonna have to be assigned permanently for Sentry, and it would probably have to be the left one. As you come north, I would say it would have to be the left. That way you could leave the 3 booths that you have on the US side for Sentry, even though the 4th one could be, or it works for Sentry, and leave the right hand lane for
Correct.
regular traffic, and you guys could probably work traffic a lot better. And if it's 3 coming north, then you would probably leave the one on the left for Sentry and the other 2, if it's a lot of traffic, for regular traffic. Because if you switch them around, I think it's gonna be harder for the Sentry guys to come into that lane, because then you would have only one entrance, you would have Ocampo. And if you leave the left-hand side, you would have, even though you only have one entrance to the bridge itself, but you have two streets that you can come into that lane so that you can turn left and get into the bridge. Those are the only things I think you guys should see with Capufi and the city of
Well,
Nuevo Laredo to see how
Prior to.
they work them out.
With the meeting with with Capufe, they indicated that they're willing to implement some kind of, I think they mentioned up to another booth somewhere so they can,
Yes. One of the things that we've encouraged and discussed with them, and they've mentioned that they're gonna do their best to provide, is currently at Bridge 2, on the Mexican side, there's only one lane for Capufe. I'm sorry, for Century. There's only one lane, one Pluma.
On Bridge
At
2,
Bridge 2.
yes.
At Bridge 1, they're trying to make 2 lanes for Sentry and 1 lane for non-Sentry, to where they'll be able to double up the vehicles going through the Sentry lane.
They shouldn't
Because
have any
right now-
problems, they charge a lot, they charge like close to $600 a year.
If you've crossed through Sentry at Bridge 2 lately, a lot of the times, the bridge itself has very few vehicles, but the traffic is on the Mexican side because of there just being 1 lane available. And that's why we've been pushing to get a 2nd lane for our Sentry travelers on the Mexican side. So,
Keep in mind also, Bridge 1 is the shorter bridge span
yes, ma'am.
than Bridge 2, so if you had 1 lane at Bridge 2 for Century, but now shifting them over to Bridge 1, that's why they're
2 lanes will accommodate
doing the 2
basically
lanes to
the
accommodate
capacity
that
used.
1 lane.
And this is just temporarily until Bridge
To
2
the
is
completion of the construction. Yes, sir, that's correct. Because once the construction is completed at Bridge 2, the vehicles should once again be traversing through the east side of the facility, which is where Sentry is currently located, and buses will be traversing through the west side of the facility. Because the new bus processing area that was constructed under the new construction.
So the opening for Bridge 1 will be when?
Pedestrians on the 26th, vehicles on the 29th.
this month, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I just wanna clarify something, I guess, I mean, that's a recommendation by Mr. Canales, had you already discussed or thought of which lanes you all wanted? Which one were you dedicating for Century, or was that gonna be discussed tomorrow?
It'll be discussed tomorrow with council. We've mentioned it,
prior to
but
with them, and they've indicated what they,
Or
we told them what we need, our needs, and then they kind of said, okay, well, we'll work to accommodate, the amount of traffic that you all have.
Okay.
But then tomorrow will be another
And,
step.
their traffic is also part of the committee as well, in order to try and decide what is best for them. They've also been invited and they've been in participation in the meetings.
I would push for the left one, but if they actually take care of both, that's fine. But I think for you guys and for them, it'll be easier to process the traffic on the left-hand side coming north than the right-hand side.
It's also more of a straight shot to our booths on the left side than it is in the
Cause you can play with those 3 on the left-hand side and leave bicycles and regular traffic. And if there's more traffic, regular traffic, you can you can open more lanes so that, you can, but, I don't know what they're gonna say.
Well, tomorrow we'll have a discussion and Mr. Maldonado and Ms. Mimon will be there, so we can definitely entertain anything that was presented to you.
And whatever recommendations here will also be discussed tomorrow, we'll mention them tomorrow, your recommendations.
We'll provide it.
Okay.
Streets?
I've got no more questions.
Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
thank you
sir.
for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it. Of course. All right.
See you soon.
Yes, sir.
Sí, ya, gracias.
I got a water leak in my house, I got no interest.
We need to sell water, leave it alone.
Thank you very much, okay? Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good seeing you again, nice seeing you.
Pues ya estás acá en el aeropuerto, tú, ¿verdad?
Trata de con el puente también.
Claro.
¿Mande? También te hacen. See you later, goodbye.
Thank you.
If you hear any ringing from me, it's because I got this watch and it's connected to that and I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know how to silence it.
Tacos every time it
I
rains.
did it once, but it
Ya van dos,
doesn't.
ya van dos, ya van dos.
Some good tacos.
Okay, UISD response to inside school parking for students. We had discussed this a few months ago.
Yes, sir. Quickly, and just, I'm sorry, and if I can just jump in here real quick, I wanted to make mention of some, staff members, that are with us as well, and Dan McGee from Texas, thank you for joining us back there, he's gonna help us on one of the items. But just real quickly, you probably, know some of the faces, but we have, Erica Alcorta, she's now our administrative assistant here at the traffic offices, so Erica's here to help, and I know she's talked to you all already. Lupita Reyes, she was promoted to our traffic administration manager position. So she comes to us from the parking division. She is in charge of the finances, budget, capital improvement projects, and so she's got an auditing background, so we're looking for some good things with that. And of course, Rosita Martinez always helping us with customer service and at the front. Robert Benya was promoted to engineer superintendent, the engineering division superintendent. So he oversees all of the engineering department now. So we have, just to let you know, Mr. Murillo obviously is our assistant director, Mr. Peña, our engineering superintendent, Manuel Benavides, who's our operations manager, who will be a superintendent to keep everyone superintendent. And replacing Lupita at traffic is, if you remember Norma Ramirez, she's now the parking superintendent, so now she mans that office. And seeing that, again, y'all are the committee overseeing all traffic issues, I just wanted to make sure y'all knew that piece first and foremost. So I apologize for not doing it earlier, but wanted to get that in there. The UIC response, so yeah, that was an item that came up a couple months ago when we discussed this about parking, and that came from United High School and parking in those back areas. And the gentleman that wanted that permit that we asked them to look into. So we met as the committee directed us to go and meet with the superintendent and their offices. We did. Mr. Murillo and I sat down with the superintendent and some of his key staff, including the chief of police, and they told us at that time that because of liability sake that they cannot have unpermitted, unlicensed, uninsured cars in any other facilities. I asked him to put it in writing for the committee to see. So that's what you see before you. So now we kind of heard that last time, we understood that. I think really now it just falls on the school board themselves and whatever liability they want to cover, but their official response to us is that because of liability issues, as we suspected, did not allow them for them to have students without licenses, without insurance. And so just wanted to follow up, make sure we close that loop with you on that issue, because we told you we'd go out and do it, and we did it, and we're coming back with this item.
And whatever happened to the notion that It's a public place, just like a mall or a grocery store parking and parking.
Superintendent saw it differently. Superintendent believes that, the school is liable. Again, as, its own authority with its own board, we took the information, thanked them for his time and asked them to put it in writing. But his opinion is that they would hold some liability according to what their legal department is telling them.
So they just throw the problem back on the city.
That, we were told exactly what we were told, and if, I guess that means that, you are correct, Mr. Fernandez. Well, in all honesty as well, too, we understand that people need to get to school and back and forth, and some families, don't have the ability to take their kids, and so the kids must sometimes drive themselves. We can appreciate that. But in all honesty, too, we were talking about this a little earlier, you really shouldn't have unlicensed, uninsured drivers out in the streets anyway to begin with, in legal terms. But we also realize that we live in the world we live in, and some people don't have the ability to take their kids to school or ride a bus for whatever reason, and then must drive. So we work with the lemons we have and make the best of it, and we go from there. So we'll take it issue by issue and try and address it, just like that gentleman. We'll ask to see if there's a permit process that he wants to follow. We provided that information to him, and we provide the assistance to help him through that. And we'll take it as they come, but it will have to be a change of the board's superintendent board's decision not to allow it. And we're gonna see it be pervasive. The next high school will have that. Once it becomes a middle school, it goes away. Kinda like the old United off Shiloh had the same issue until it turned into a 9th grade campus, so the drivers went away, so their problem dissipated. So the best thing that could happen to those individuals over there by Academy is that turns into a middle school one day. There are no more
Well,
drivers.
we know for sure that's not gonna happen anytime soon.
That's, I'm not a lawyer, but I think it's wrong. I think the city of Laredo should look at it with their lawyers and, it's the city of Laredo then, under their opinion, is liable because there's a bunch of people that do not have either a license or insurance. And, hope not someone has an accident, but they're gonna go sue the city of Laredo? Or the city of Laredo is gonna say, either you show me a driver's license and insurance, or I won't let you drive on my streets, or you have to pay $10 to drive on my streets. It's a public place. That's, my opinion, and I think it's wrong, but,
I just, one comment, if I can make a comment, Mr. Chairman, what about the parents? The parents that drive into these schools, I don't see them asking for driver's license or valid insurance. It's just a comment, so
Or the
they're asking.
teachers.
Or the teachers, they're asking their students, but a regular parent who may not have those documents, they're not asking them for that.
Right.
But,
Valid point. And we don't, Mr. Chair, we don't disagree with any of those comments that you all have raised. We just, the next step, I guess, for us, if we wanted to go down the step, would be legal on our side and really would be enforcement. And I'm just not sure if that's the direction, we wanna impress to go out there and go after the drivers searching for these, unlicensed or uninsured.
Well, we didn't do a recommendation on
But,
putting street signs saying no parking and stuff like that.
well, that
Right.
I was just gonna say,
Right.
is, what street are we talking about? Are you talking about
The neighborhood.
inside the neighborhood, or are you talking about parking on International Boulevard?
No, the complaint was from the neighborhood. The complaint was that the students parking along that neighborhood and then walking to.
Right, and we're talking about the one that's north of Academy and the neighborhood way back over there, the Calmas
So
and
you're
the
talking about,
Tranquilos.
within that?
Yes, sir.
okay.
So
You're
you
not
have
talking about
students.
parking on International?
No.
You're talking about parking inside the actual?
Right, and so the residents are the ones that come to us and complain that, you know, they don't have a place either to park themselves or have visitors over, or that the streets get so narrow because they're parking on both sides that an emergency vehicle can't go through. That's the complaint.
Geez, I mean, then you open up the question is, okay, development, why didn't you create a street that was ample instead of having, you know, a very narrow street where it should be, you know, a three lane or,
It's a P and Z.
yeah, that's, you know, and
If I remember correctly, a few meetings ago, we had Nixon come to us with the same problem about parking over at Nixon. And we ended up putting some signs in between,
Or all around.
all around for no parking and stuff like that, right? Okay, I kind of go through there every morning, and the kids are parking, they're still taking their cars, just, now they're just walking farther. So when they're trying to cross, what is it, Lion? To get to Nixon,
yes.
some kids almost get hit. So I think that's even a bigger issue, which is the safety of these kids. We're pushing them farther and farther away. If they can't park at United, if they can't park at Nixon because of insurances or whatever, then what they're doing, and like what we're doing is we're putting those signs, we're making them walk more blocks. One of these days, I might be late to work, I might be speeding, not notice what's going on, the kid doesn't see me come, boom. So I think this is more of a safety issue than it is more of a parking issue. No, I mean,
You want liability? That's liability.
yeah, that's liability. I'm just thinking, you know, it's.
Maybe it's an issue that needs to be taken up to the boards, UIC board, LISD board, et cetera.
Well, and if I can make a comment about that one specifically, so to add more fuel to the fire, Tito Garcia at one point had made the comment to the new superintendent of LISD, with me present, about Nixon. And because we keep putting more and more do not park signs out there. And I wanna say, Tito was president, Mr. Murillo was president, we're having lunch somewhere. And that was actually brought up. And Mr. Garcia, representing the school board, said, you know, why is it that we don't allow them to park inside the school? They said, well, because of liability's sake and insurances and whatnot. He took a different opinion. He actually took the opinion to say, it's not our role, we hold no liability, we're just like any other parking facility, so the school district doesn't hold any liability. And they took it back and to the school board, and the school board decided for Nixon and only Nixon, not the entire school district, but for Nixon itself, they're now allowed to go in there, and there is no requirement, no checking of license or insurances. What happens a lot of times too, I think and I went to Nixon, so I think what happens a lot too is some kids don't wanna park in there even though they're allowed to, because they don't wanna be seen coming in and out kind of deal. You have a lot of that. But at this point, the school board took a decision